That was Kobe Bryant speaking at the Oscars, and before that was his award-winning film Dear Basketball. Now we are joined by Irish basketball star Jason Killeen to discuss Kobe Bryant's tragic death, his glittering career and the impact he had on basketball. Jason, was Kobe somebody that you looked up to?
Yeah, I think for my generation, I'm 35 years old right now, and growing up, all my peers, that Kobe was definitely somebody that we all would have looked up to and idolised.
What was it about him?
I think it's just his work ethic. There's constant stories about him getting up at all hours of the morning and dragging teammates into the gym, and he's the type of guy that he never took a shortcut, and he would have admitted himself that he was given God-given abilities, his athleticism, but never took that for granted and always strived to be better at what he did.
LeBron James said on Saturday night, which is probably a bit ironic after he had broken Kobe Bryant's record, I remember one thing he said: if you want to be great at it or want to be one of the greats, you've got to put the work in. There's no substitution for work, and that's what everyone says about Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, it's definitely a universally accepted that he was probably the hardest worker that you could come across.
Now, Jeff Shepherd is stateside for us. Shep, how does the sporting world even begin to process such tragic news?
It's really difficult, Marie, because to Jason's point about, kind of idolizing Kobe, Kobe was in and around the NBA for 2 decades. So basically, every great player that's passed through the league since, the mid-90s, from Michael Jordan at the end of his run to the beginning of LeBron and all points in between, Dirk Nowitzki, and just all these different players. Kobe Bryant was there. I mean, he may have been injured a couple of times, but I mean, he was constantly, he was always around. He was one of the few constants in the NBA to be in Los Angeles. And so he was always in every situation, from the Olympics, winning 2 gold medals and 5 championships, playing with Shaq, playing with Paul Gasol, kind of being, the alpha dog in the league, to, kind of taking on a more supportive role at the end of his career. I mean, it just has kind of done it all. And so he was also heavily involved in a lot of pop culture references and different things like that. It's really not just the sports world. It's a lot of American life over here. It's just people were just stunned by their interactions with him and how involved he was in a lot of things over the last 2+ decades.
Shep, just on that, you say it, he's an icon and he transcends the world of sport. There's been massive outpouring here. You hear the people, Jason, saying that he's their hero. What's the sentiment in the States? How's this been received?
I mean, they were playing the Pro Bowl yesterday afternoon, which is like the NFL's, like all-star game, okay? And it's a completely meaningless game. These guys don't need the extra money. They don't really need the injury risk. And the news broke in the middle of the game. And, I mean, the players were literally checking their phones on the sidelines, and the sideline reporters were talking about that's the only thing that was being talked about yesterday. And it really was the only thing that was being spoken about with anybody that I had any interaction with, whether it be in person, online, text messages, anything like that. I mean, it was so stunning and so shocking in the way that it happened. I mean, it's not like he announced he had some disease and he put up a big fight or anything like that. I mean, it was a tragic death, and of course, when you throw in the fact that his daughter's in there as well, and then you're relating to it as a parent, it just feels like it just touched everybody.
And Jason, just from a basketball point of view, when he managed to break through, what did he do for the LA Lakers? Just put into context the impact that he had on that team.
Well, the Lakers are probably the most storied franchise in the NBA. You have, LeBron is there now, you had Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, but I think Mr. Laker is Kobe Bryant. He spent 20 seasons there, like you said, 5 championships, 18-time All-Star with the Lakers. When you think of the purple and gold, you think of Kobe Bryant.
LeBron James also said he had 0 flaws offensively, which made it seem probably impossible to mark.
He was as close to anybody. You couldn't mark him. Like, he had an answer for everything.
And he picked up the best player always as well.
Yeah, it's both sides of the floor. You see a lot of players and they might be very talented offensively or very talented defensively, and Kobe was one of them players. He was unbelievable on offense, and there was just a dog in him on defense that he took it personal every time.
And for a game like basketball that is so energetic and athletic, to last for 20 full seasons at the top, that must mean he had some engine.
Well, 20 full seasons at the top, and then in his very last game he scored 60 points.
When he was 35.
Yeah, his very last game before he went out, 60 points, and then retired.
An incredibly athlete. That's going to be hard to follow, I'm afraid.
Shep, we know that he had 4 daughters, and unfortunately one of them was in the helicopter with him. The relationship that he seemed to have with his daughters, especially Gianna, was really special.
Yeah, I mean, and look, she was clearly, looking to kind of follow in his footsteps and, play potentially in college and maybe even in the WNBA. And she was talented and she was very good. And she seemed to have the confidence that he had. I mean, he there's a clip that's been played a lot about him on a talk show talking about how somebody said, you need to have a son to carry on that legacy. And Gianna said, oh, no, I've got it. Don't worry about it. I mean, she had that competitive nature that he was known for. I mean, he was known as the alpha dog on every team that he played on, which is part of the reason why he and Shaq butted heads. And that's a whole other different story. But yes, I mean, he had easily made the transition into post-basketball life and was ready to be a father and attend basketball games. He was going to Gianna's games. He was going to a lot of women's college basketball games and is really following that sport because had been getting into it because of his older daughter. And so, it's hard to relate to being, an NBA superstar, but a lot of people can relate to being a parent and traveling to games with their kids and all of those different things. And that's why it's just so shocking.
Jason, there's always different languages used in sports, but you might explain to us, what's an alpha dog in basketball?
An alpha dog? Well, I think Kobe was the epitome of an alpha dog. He was the go-to guy in the team, led by example, and like you said, that comes from playing both ends of the court and just the passion that he brought to the game. It was inspiring. And
Shep, it is a complicated legacy that he leaves behind. There was the sexual assault allegation in 2003. Is that something that is forming any part of the discussion over your side?
So it's interesting. There have been some people that have kind of wanted to make that maybe a larger portion of the story, and I think it's a part of the story. I don't necessarily think it needs to be thrust into the spotlight in the immediate aftermath of a tragedy like this. You can be a world-class basketball player and you can have done something like he did, and those things can be mutually exclusive, and they have to coexist in this one instance, in this one situation. I think it would be remiss and to say basically Kobe Bryant, admitted sexual violator, who could also play basketball. I think that's the exact wrong way to read this situation. Again, it's touchy. No one's perfect. And I'm not going to sit here and try to defend him or anything like that, but it is a piece of a much larger puzzle that happened a long time ago that he admitted to. He settled a civil suit out of court. He, most importantly, was able to make amends with his family and then go on to become a father 4 times. And from all indications, it seems to be that he was a pretty good father. So I think it is a part of the overall story. And I don't think it needs to be the first thing that anybody thinks about when they think about Kobe Bryant.
So what's next now, Shep? How is he going to be remembered from the NBA, from the Lakers? What's planned over the next while?
So last night there were several NBA games that were played, and I know for a fact the game that was up in Toronto between the Raptors and the Spurs, both teams opened the game by taking a 24-second violation. They let the shot clock run down. Of course, Kobe famously wore number 8 and he wore number 24. And again, just to kind of talk about another level here, he's the only guy to ever have 2 numbers retired from an organization. So each of the Spurs and the Spurs and the Raptors each took the 24-second violation. An hour or 2 later, the Pelicans and the Celtics both did the exact same thing. The Lakers are off. They play tomorrow night, and of all the teams that they play their crosstown rivals, the Los Angeles Clippers. So it will be an all Los Angeles matchup at the Staples Center, where Kobe played, the majority of his career when the Staples Center opened. So I would assume it is going to be an incredibly emotional basketball game in Los Angeles tomorrow night with those 2 teams playing against each other. I would assume there's going to be a statue built He was going to be getting inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame at some point soon. They'll probably fast track that to make sure that happens this year. I think the tributes are going to continue to roll in for Kobe. But again, tomorrow night, the Lakers and the Clippers in the Battle of Los Angeles in a game that'll be played and have so much meaning, unlike anything we've seen in a very long time.
Shep, thanks so much for joining us. Jason, just staying with basketball, because we had you in just a few days ago and we didn't expect to have you back in so soon after the cup final, but you did go on and win your team DBS Templeogue, or Griffith College Templeogue beat DBS Aina, and you're the champions.
Yeah, that's right. It was a big night, Saturday night in the National Basketball Arena.
And tell me about it. You're like at the top of your game still at 35 years of age?
Well, at the top. No, it was a great night. We were in here on Thursday, and both teams are kind of feeling each other out a little bit, not wanting to give away too much. But now that the dust has settled and the game is over, we're absolutely delighted. It was a great game, especially for the fans. The atmosphere in the arena was incredible. And are a fantastic team. We were lucky enough with Lorca Murphy in the first half. He finished the game with 33 points, but he gave us a bit of breathing space there in the first half. And
20 points?
I think with 28 points
wow.
he had in the first half, yeah. So, and obviously made some adjustments in the second, but he gave us that breathing room and gave us that bit of confidence as a team to push it on, and we're absolutely delighted with the win.
You said you were here on Thursday night sounding each other out, and by reading the report of the game, it looks like you managed to keep Stefan Zekovic off the ball for long periods of the game.
Well, that was definitely the game plan going in. Stefan is, he'd be one of the better players in the country right now and had a fantastic season so far.
And is it a hard thing to do to man-mark a man like him out of a game?
It is. It's more than one person. The whole team has to kind of be locked in on that player to try and limit his touches, and when he does get to touch the ball, you try and make life as difficult as possible for him.
You had a cup win on Saturday night, but you're back playing the league again next weekend, are you?
Yeah, Tralee at home next Saturday, so back to business now tonight.
But at least it's in Tralee, or in Dublin, you don't have to go all the way to Tralee. That's one benefit.
Yeah, that is a benefit. Hopefully we'll have a good home crowd off the back of the cup final.
Are you going again, Marie, are you?
I might. Haven't decided yet. I enjoyed Saturday night anyway. It was absolutely fantastic, although I was shouting for Aina.
Yeah, you'll have to wear red next time.
I know. Jason, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Game on 2FM.